A disturbing report on violence against minority communities in Bangladesh has now been released today by the Rights and Risk Analysis Group. According to the report, at least 16 houses belonging to Hindu families were set ablaze, including 7 incidents in just last 1 week, while 17 Hindu minorities were killed in what the report describes as targeted violence between 1st of December to 31st of January 2026. The report states that incidents of arson were reported from several regions, including Mirsarai, Raozan, Pirojpur and Sylhet, with the report alleging that homes and temples and assets of Hindu families deliberately targeted. The report said that fires were allegedly set after doors were locked from outside with the intent to cause maximum harm, adding that the Chittagong region recorded highest number of such incidents. The report further claims that at least 17 Hindu minorities were murdered in targeted attacks, with some killings allegedly carried out in a brutal manner. The report has listed multiple victims and dates, stating that these incidents occurred across the country from December up until January of 2026 for good 2 months. The Bangladeshi authorities, including Chief Advisor to the government Muhammad Yunus, have rejected religious motive, maintaining that most of these incidents involving minorities were criminal rather than communal in nature. Earlier statements by the administration linked some of these violence to political tensions following the fallout of the Sheikh Hasina-led government in Bangladesh. Now, the report says that the denial of a religious angle has emboldened extremist elements, and that many victims, fearing reprisals, avoid naming the attacks as targeted violence. The report has renewed concerns over minority safety and accountability in Bangladesh, even as authorities continue to contest some of these claims. Joining me on the show, Suhas Chakma, Director for Rights and Risk Analysis Group, the group that has come up with the report. Suhas Chakma, thank you very much, sir, for taking time out. I like to first begin by asking you, run us through what were the key findings of this report?
The key findings of the report are effectively the Hindu houses are being burned, and these attacks are organized, and often the victims are sleeping inside their houses, and from the outside the doors are locked, then set on fire, obviously with the intent to kill. And this has been continuing for a long time, and especially in the Chittagong region, you have seen in the Raozan areas, and in the last 1 week, we have seen about, 7 Hindu houses being burnt in this similar fashion. And in each case, I think what we have seen is that the authorities are not taking appropriate actions. And I think the fact that the chief advisor himself denies that these are religiously motivated, then it basically leaves no space for the local police or the authorities to take, the cognizance of this particular facts. And I think what is worrying is the fact that the last person is Chanchal Bhomik. He was working in a garage, and it was set on fire, and the attackers knew that he was a Hindu. He was working in this particular garage. Then they set on fire. So this is the first time where I think a Hindu has been basically burned alive, and this was the 17 number in the last 2 months. So if the 17 persons belonging to the Hindu minorities have been killed, this has to be an issue of concern, and somehow by downplaying this sporadic, these systematic attacks as not linked to the religious motive, I think the administration is in a way allowing this violence to take place, and I think it's very worrying. The fact that I think you have no support. If you are a Hindu, you have to live there, you have to live in the locality. So even if your houses are burned, you have no space to flee anywhere, because the moment you flee, then your houses and lands and etc. will be taken over by some Islamic forces. So they often say we have no enemies. I have no enmity with anybody, which is actually the case, then they possibly cannot name the accused person because the authorities are not there to provide any kind of help.
Okay,
So
I also have to ask you, sir, at this point in time, a lot of their findings from that report are very alarming. To begin with, would it be fair to say that the number of violence, the cases have increased dramatically in the past 2 months?
oh, absolutely, and they have increased more. Absolutely, I mean, after the death of Usman Hadi, and then the numbers have been going up. And after the election campaigning had started from the 28th of last month, sorry, this month. I mean, you could see more attacks are taking place on the Hindus, especially in terms of burning down the
Okay.
houses.
Okay.
Arson. So I could say that, I mean, it's confirmed that this incident had gone up.
All right. And any particular reason for violence against Hindu minority to have increased in the last 2 months alone? And secondly, to the point that you mentioned, that the fact that the government has refused to take accountability, that has led to emboldening of some of these extremist elements who are in fact going out there and killing people, knowing that the government is not going to identify them and not going to, call it what it is, targeted violence. Do you think that is also one of the reasons why in the past 2 months alone these numbers have gone up?
I think the numbers have gone up because during elections everywhere, especially in Bangladesh, the violence increased. So taking advantage of the election campaigning and a little bit of political disputes, the Hindus are being targeted. So the reason why the number of violence have gone up against the Hindus, simply because the election campaigning have started, some sort of political violence at times take place, and they are trying to take advantage of this political violence. And the second point, I think, I mean, it's absolutely right that the fact that the authorities are giving impunity, because the people who attack them are immediately released and given bail, etc. Whereas a person like Chinmay Das Prabhu, who has not killed anybody, only accused of putting the ISKCON flag allegedly over the Bangladeshi flag, has not been released from jail since 24th November last year, in 2024. So you could see that, when you kill a Hindu, you go inside the prison, immediately come out. And we have to remember that, all the fundamentalists and the Islamic elements, they have all been released by Dr. Yunus. So they are roaming around and they don't have to engage directly. They are letting loose their own cadres. So there's a state policy of encouraging this kind of violence against the Hindu minorities. And my fear is in the next 2 weeks, when the campaigning picks up, we will see more violence of this nature.